Hi, welcome to part 2 of our introduction to cut-induced throw. Many of you still don't believe this is an issue for you to be concerned with. I once believed that too, but I was wrong. And I hope to get you to reconsider. It might unlock your next level of improvement in shot making. Now, how do we deal with it? Well, it really depends on your skill and your goals. If you want to go the easy way, do what you've likely been doing all along. Just learn to aim for pocketing your typical shots. And know and accept that some shots will be even lower percentage because you don't know the proper aim. But if you want to reach higher, then there's more to do to learn. There are at least 5 levels: recognition, then avoid, or minimize, or adapt. And the highest level is to know the actual aim for line of centers to pocket and how to adapt for varying CIT or the cue ball side spin used for position play. We'll cover these as we go along in this series. For recognition, there are 2 dimensions to consider. What types of shots create more throw or more throw variations? And in what situations is that more of a problem? We'll first consider the situations that are more of a problem. Then we'll consider the types of shots in those situations that cause significant throw. Then you'll be able to consider avoiding those shots and situations. Or you can minimize the amount of throw by controlling cue ball speed and vertical spin. And if you must shoot the shot, shoot it the hard way, then learn about the 2 ways to adapt. And for the ultimate skill, you'll need to learn the details of throw for angle and speed and spin. You'll get there most quickly by being able to set up shots controlling for cut angle and expected throw, and practice and learn. The AimRight version 3.0 practice tool bundle is perfect for this. Now think, what situations come to mind that should alert you? Pause the video and think of as many as you can. CIT causes a shot error, an angle offset from what's intended. The consequence is that you need to be more concerned about it when you have less geometric margin of error. The first 5 examples fall into this category. Examples are tight pockets, long distance to the pocket, side pocket shots from acute angles, combination shots. Combination shots inherently magnify angle errors. In addition, combo balls are usually fairly close together, and the first will hit the second ball with stun, leading to above average throw. Then bank shots. Banks are an issue because they're longer distance, inherently, which magnifies the throw, plus the friction that causes throw puts spin on the object ball, and that spin reacts with the bank cushion to alter the direction of rebound. Another situation is proximity. When the cue ball is very close to the object ball, if you're not careful and you hit center ball, you'll have stun. Stun will create more throw. And finally, dirty balls. Obviously, a chalk mark on the ball at the contact point will dramatically increase friction and thus throw. Each of these situations should be of concern, and multiple of these factors on a given shot just compounds the problem. In part 1 of this series, we learned that CIT causes a shot to go long. How much? Well, it's caused by friction, and how much depends on how much friction. And friction is affected by the cut angle, the collision speed, and any spin on the cue ball. A simple analysis of any variation in the CIT based on those friction variables caused us to worry. A deeper analysis would show that it's only some shots that are especially worrisome, and other times we can bake typical CIT into our learned aim, likely what you're doing now. We'll learn to distinguish the problem shots. Understand which shots should especially concern you. It's not simply that it's a long shot, but you have to consider the other factors that affect the friction between the balls, and it's the friction that actually causes the throw. There's no throw when you hit the ball head on, assuming no cue ball side spin. It only happens when the cue ball wipes across the object ball. Thus, the cut angle is important. Because friction is actually complicated, it also depends on the speed of the cue ball at impact and the spin of the cue ball at impact. There's more throw at lower speed, no cue ball spin, that is stun at impact, and higher cut angle. Note that for a really thin cut, you'll typically not be far from the pocket, nor be hitting slow, and there's usually no reason for stun. And besides, at really thin cuts, stun doesn't matter at normal speeds. Thus, CIT won't be too bad, and CIT variations won't be bad either. You can usually just learn to adjust your aim for typical CIT. But there's a special case, stun. Now brace yourself for a set of guidelines that might seem complicated. I've tried to make them as simple as possible, but not simpler. These guidelines actually generalize and thus simplify the situation compared to learning the full CIT versus angle and speed data. With stun, there's especially strong throw, rising rapidly as cut increases, and peaking between about 18 and 30 degrees, depending on shot speed. And slow stun has the worst throw. That is, throw peaks in that range with stun and actually decreases some going towards thinner cuts and only drops to that of a rolling cue ball at about 60 degrees. Very slow stun peaks at 30 degrees. At higher speeds, the peak is at decreasing cut angles and the peak throw is less. Increased speed only decreases CIT if the cut is thinner than about 20 degrees. For most normal speeds with stun, be especially concerned about CIT up to about 40 degrees. For the very rare case of very slow stun, CIT is a significant problem at all cut angles over about 12 degrees. So be alert when using stun, especially at slower speeds, or generally when shooting softly, especially at thinner cuts. Generally at high speed, you only need to be concerned at very thin cut angles, like 61 degrees and higher. So what can you do about it? Well, the first is awareness, and we're handling that now. Next, reinforce your awareness. Get some guided hands-on feel for it. I suggest the new Aimrite version 3.0 and the document Data for Advancing Players. With the new Aimrite, you can set up practice shots at exactly known cut angles with exactly known aims, and it will help you start to learn to recognize those CIT critical angles. To further help with recognizing those cut angles, the new Aimrite bundle gets you access to the computer game Cut Angle Challenge 101, which is a fun way to learn to intuitively recognize the angles. In addition, Aimrite version 3.0 lets you set up for an exact amount of cut-induced throw. But how much throw? Consult the Data for Advancing Players, and it will tell you how much throw to expect under normal conditions. And of course, it depends on cut angle and speed, and that's how the data is presented. How can you know what the speed is that gives an amount of throw? The table data is calibrated to recognizable speeds via travel distances, like the lag speed, so you can easily learn to calibrate your speed to the data. All the specific CIT behavior and guidelines are derived from Dr. Dave's work, especially in his technical proof TPA 14. But you'll want to verify this for yourself. By setting up shots at known angles, adjusted with a predetermined throw, you can evaluate your balls and table conditions. You can learn about how much throw is actually happening. You may learn that you are automatically adjusting already for typical throw without realizing it. This aiming flaw, yes, flaw, causes unexpected misses when using inside English or slow stun. Now that you are aware that a shot you're considering poses a CIT problem, what can you do? The first option is to avoid that shot. Play position for a different shot, or shoot a different shot, or play safe. Now, if you can't avoid a shot with too much throw, what options to deal with it? First choice is to try and minimize the throw by controlling the friction factors. Some general guidelines are that there's less throw at higher speed, when there's more cue ball vertical spin, whether it's top spin or draw, or less cut angle. So, being faced with a shot with significant CIT, the obvious choices are shoot at a higher speed and or use some top spin or draw. In some cases, you may be able to target a different pocket that lessens CIT due to cut angle. Usually this is a fuller hit. But if you must use stun, then being outside the critical angle range of about 14 to 40 or so degrees would be ideal, and try using a higher speed for cuts over 20 degrees. In part 1 of this series, we saw that the variations of CIT were a concern. Let's look deeper. Some shots have considerable variation in throw as speed is varied, with low speed being the worst. A standard way to deal with this is to avoid extreme speeds, especially very low speeds. You'll notice pro players rarely shoot very softly. Avoiding very slow speeds minimizes throw, and having a narrow range of shot speeds minimizes throw variations for a given shot. Now what about cue ball spin? Well, there's considerable variation in throw with variation in cue ball vertical spin. The real issue is with stun. If possible, use draw or a rolling cue ball. Stun can be executed at different speeds. Hit harder with a higher tip position, and you'll get stun with less throw if the situation allows it. You should find out the truth about CIT for yourself. I'll show you how. Well, an argument could be made for a long shot to a corner pocket, or just straight down to the middle of the short rail. Let's instead shoot into a side pocket at an angle. Let's start with stun shots, which we're saying have the largest potential throw, and we'll test it at various speeds. I could ask you to set up a 30-degree cut and be very careful to calibrate your speed and tip position to get stun at those various speeds, like I'm showing you here. But there's a remarkably easier way to very accurately see CIT with stun at any speed. Set up two balls in contact and aimed at the pocket. Then we shoot directly at the ball that's in the ghost ball position. We hit it head on, thus representing a stun shot from the angle of the cue ball. Set up donuts to position the two balls and then shoot them from an estimated 30 degrees at slow speed, very slow speed, and observe the results. Switch to the other direction and see the throw to the other side. Now, speed up and see if the theory is correct, that the throw is now less. You can extend this to test the other guidelines about stun, and I'm not illustrating that here. See if throw peaks at very slow speeds at 30 degrees. Shoot from different cue ball positions. See if there's still a throw peak at higher speeds, but that peak is at lower cut angles. See if it's true that speed only reduces throw at cuts thinner than 20 degrees. Next, move on to shots with topspin or strong draw. Using normal roll is the easier to do repeatedly. Now we have to remove the ghost ball target and so have the problem of having to properly aim the shot. Shoot from close to maximize accuracy and repeatability and cue high to ensure normal roll. The 30-degree cut is easiest because the aim is for the object ball edge. Shoot the same shots and test whether throw is less than for stun. Now I'm not showing this, but you can shoot and check at constant speed if throw increases with cut angle without any peak at any intermediate cut angle. And notice how much throw you get and when it should concern you. Check whether that matches the guidelines I've presented that are derived from Dr. Dave's model and equations. Let's wrap up what we've learned here. If you choose to improve your shot making relative to CIT, there are 5 steps. Go as far as you're motivated. It starts with an awareness of CIT and then the recognition of a potential problem shot situation. We identified 7, and confirmation of high friction factors like low speed, stun, and the cut angle. And we found some details about stun to learn. So I gave you a lot of rules and guidelines to apply to stun and a ball with normal roll or strong draw. But bear in mind, all of this is based on the theoretical analysis from Dr. Dave. And I showed you how you can recreate the situations and evaluate whether those guidelines and rules seem right on your equipment. Check it out. Then choose whether to avoid, minimize, or adapt. You can minimize by adjusting shot speed and cue ball vertical spin, at least some of the time. And if you must shoot with high CIT, then you must adapt, and that will be covered later. The 5th option is to become expert in CIT by learning the problem angles, spins, and speeds, and what CIT to expect in each situation, and how to adapt. This requires knowledge and focused practice, and the AimRight version 3.0 bundle will support that. Come back for the next video, in which we will continue with learning about the 2 ways to adapt for CIT.